Secretary of State Antony Blinken is slated to visit China next week on the 18th of June. This is the trip he had put off back in February when the Chinese spy balloon incident happened and it was spotted flying over the United States. The recent tension between the US and China began back in August of 2022 when former US Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. She was the highest-ranking US politician to visit Taiwan since 1997. Ever since, the tensions between Washington and Beijing have only intensified, the latest one being the air confrontation in the South China Sea. And the second was in the Taiwan Strait, where the United States accused a Chinese warship of cutting in front of an American vessel. It was taking part in a joint exercise with the Canadian Navy in the Taiwan Strait. They claim it nearly avoided a collision, and on Friday, the PLA sent 37 aircraft and other warplanes to Taiwan's air defense zone in another act of intimidation against Taiwan. In the meantime, China is also capitalizing on the shrinking U.S. presence in the Gulf as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a quick ceasefire visit to Saudi Arabia. Relations have been frosty between the two nations, and reports indicate that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is unhappy with the US's approach towards Saudi Arabia and is threatening to move closer to China and Russia. Let's try and get in some bird's eye overview as far as this entire tension between the United States and Beijing is concerned. Let's bring in Stephen Simon, who's a senior research analyst from the Quincy Institute and joins me live. Thank you so much, Stephen. Now, the timing of Blinken's trip is interesting since it coincided with Iran reopening its embassy in Saudi Arabia. What explains the United States looking for a reset in ties with Saudi Arabia?
Well, this was a Gulf Cooperation Council ministerial meeting. So it was called by the Gulf Cooperation Council, not really by the United States, although the United States was pleased to attend. I think your insight is quite right here, namely that the United States is concerned to get its relations with Saudi Arabia back on a firm footing to the extent that that's possible. I think by and large, the meeting was successful. Especially because, among other things, it expressed support for the U.S. military presence in Syria, which the United States feared might be endangered because among the terms outlined by the Arab League for the reintegration of Syria into the League, the Arab League asked that foreign forces be removed from Syria. So there was a bit of concern about that, but the Gulf Cooperation Council ministers endorsed the U.S. presence in Syria. And the communique also endorsed the continuing strategic cooperation between the Gulf Cooperation Council and the United States. So, the upshot was favorable, and I think Washington is probably satisfied with the results now.
And this